Richard Gebhardt is the author of a book that provides free audiobooks with key insights and brief study notes. He is a guide to developing self-discipline and is a source of inner strength and drive for achieving his goals and ambitions. Cybervision systems, developed by the Stanford University Neuropsychological Research Laboratory, have identified the master key to success and have invested in research and discovery of it through 7 years of intensive investigation into the science of human achievement. This program is a powerful and potentially effective achievement program that can help people to find true joy and drive to achieve their goals. Self-discipline is essential for success in life, especially when it comes to achieving one's goals. It takes years of hard work and discipline to master a skill or craft, and it is important for those who are willing to put in the years of work it takes to build a business from scratch into a multimillion-dollar operation, a medical degree, and a doctor's practice. The story of successful artists, business people, and doctors highlights the contrast between the self-disciplined achiever and the morally wise. The author is reminded of a story about a great pianist who gave a concert and said he would give anything in the world if he could. He has been practicing for years of practice and has achieved phenomenal success through dedication to practice. He believes that intelligence is the key to success, even though a person with a high degree of intelligence is fortunate. He also states that with a minimum of talent and average intelligence, one can be any one of those things with a steady, sustained effort. Education is a valuable aid, but not the only factor in success. The most important details of the phrases American and America in this text are the lack of self-discipline and lack of ambition in America today, which is the biggest cause of failure among many American dreams. This has led to a mire of mediocrity, with many people losing sight of the truth that anything worthwhile achieving takes time and effort, and unhappiness and drugs, as well as a social cancer of a quick-fix society. The raw power and potential of talented and intelligent people is dormant and wasted due to the inability of them to commit and mobilize themselves to a course of consistent action. As a result, successful people in America have one thing in common: they set their sights on a goal and work hard to reach it, learning what they need to do and finding a way to do it if it means taking on an extra job, attending evening classes, working countless hours, and relocating themselves and their families. Self-discipline is an important tool for bridging the gap between wishful thinking and real fulfillment. It is a powerful tool for achieving a dream and dreams, and this program will teach how to do it. It will also show how to take the raw materials you already possess and use your talent, intelligence, strength, and motivation to achieve your goals. Dr. Pribram is a renowned brain and behavioral researcher who has been conducting research into the brain and behavior for over 30 years. He is referred to as the father of neuropsychology and has developed 2 of his revolutionary discoveries: that our behavior is governed by images of achievement and that these images cannot mobilize and motivate ourselves to achieve our goals. Stanford University is no exception, as it is home to a wide range of self-discipline programs, which are not the result of pop psychological and fetish theories. To stay on the path to success, one must learn the kind of positive strength it takes to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Dr. Priebus' discovery of how the human brain forms visual and sensory images and how these images affect our emotions has enabled us to commit ourselves to a discourse of action and see it through to the end with excellence. His cutting-edge work has allowed us to understand the relationship between thinking, sensing, motivation, and behavior, and how powerful cybervision systems have developed a powerful technology that enables us to harness our own mental processes and motivate ourselves to develop the kind of iron will that will carry us through thick and thin to achieve our goals. The program centers around 3 points of organization, knowledge and information, and action and implementation. In Session 2, we will learn the 10 characteristics of goal-achieving highly disciplined people and how they use the tools used to develop and exercise their powers of self-discipline. We will also learn the power principles of cybervision and self-discipline in Session 3, and the most important section of the program is action and implementation for 4 through 10. The most important details of the phrase, Annapolis, West Point, are that it is a metaphor for the spiritual journey of life. It is about determining what one wants to achieve in one's life and then learning how to select role models who have already achieved what one wishes to achieve and learn patterns of success from them. Additionally, it is important to transform desires into emotion, provoking blueprints with attractive sensory images, which can excite and stimulate emotions. The program also teaches students how to determine the knowledge and skills needed to achieve their goals, plan their time, and break through the barriers of time. Finally, it provides guidance on how to do it behind every great achiever, such as someone close to home, a parent, a friend, someone famous, or a historical or mythological figure. The story of General George Patton is one of the most inspiring stories of all time. It is about Alexander, a great Greek ruler who nearly conquered the world over 2,000 years ago. He was so successful in battle that the Germans considered him to be the greatest weapon. He drew his inspiration from the mythical Greek god Hercules, who was known for his courage and strength. Similarly, the great baseball champion Babe Ruth was once asked how he developed the hit style that made him the king of the home run hitters. Ultimately, it is said that the quality of the models we choose to emulate all human behavior begins with models, such as walk-talking, feeding ourselves, and watching our families. The most important details of the phrases Patton, George the Great was to George Patton, who was a Chinese philosopher who said the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. To become a disciplined achiever, one must be given a role model of their own discipline and compare their own behavior to the 10 dominant characteristics of the disciplined motivated achiever. Cybervision has studied people who have been successful in business, education, science, and other fields and found 10 qualities common to each of them. As a result, one can use this model to create a living, breathing picture of the type of person who is highly self-disciplined and who gets things done with it. This model can be used to reshape their lives along rewarding achievement-oriented lines and motivate them to become successful. The most important details of the phrases Patton, Norwegian are that John Ernest Rutherford was a Norwegian explorer who was inspired to pursue a career in polar exploration by his mother's advice. He studied nautical techniques and eventually became a master sailor, and in 11 he became the first man to find the South Pole, and his single-minded pursuit with a profile of a person who isn't sure what he or she wants to accomplish. This type of person is often afraid of commitments and is willing to take risks that put themselves in a difficult situation. However, it is also known that people seek out and use positive role models, such as mentors, to help them become successful. Alfred Hitchcock's films were criticized for their lack of self-discipline and the idea that success can be achieved through gimmicks. He believed that it takes hard work and effort to reach a lifelong goal, and that the key to developing this kind of vision was learning to use one's imagination in a clear, creative way. He visualized every frame and angle in his own imagination, and was able to imagine the rewards of success through sight, sound, smell, and smell. The French words déjà vu and déjà are associated with this idea. The most important details of the phrases Europe, failure, and failure are that those who lack self-discipline and lack vision are more likely to experience negative reinforcement and use it as an excuse not to try again in the future, leading to a fear of failure and a lack of self-assurance. This can be seen in the example of Christ Columbus, who set out to find a new route to the West Indies and believed the world was round. He successfully applied this concept to every institution in Europe until he was able to find someone who could finance his voyage to what turned out. Henry Ford, an American inventor, designed a model to make it easier for Americans to own a car and use the assembly line to build cars. His plan was successful, leading to the development of a new industrial era and the hiring of employees. However, he was also planning to spend 4 more years of schooling before he could begin to practice his new career, which could lead to him spending time floundering among half-started projects and missing opportunities for success. Self-discipline is an important factor in successful self-development, as it allows one to plan and organize their goals and break them down into pieces that can be worked on at the beginning. John Ford and Christopher Columbus are examples of self-disciplined achievers who are able to acquire knowledge and skills through their game plan and are willing to make sacrifices to complete their own personal education. To become a doctor, one must first study pre-med, go to medical school, and then complete their internship before setting up a practice. To set up a business, one can pursue graduate school, get an MBA, start with a partner, and find a partner who knows how to run a business. However, these qualities can be difficult as the undisciplined person lacks patience and is not always looking for shortcuts. For example, John Ford exhibited the kind of patient engineer who could start a business without having to go through a real learning process. Washington Augustus Roebling demonstrated in finishing the building of the famous Brooklyn Bridge in 1869, which was to be the first steel suspension bridge in the world. His father John Augustus was the brilliant engineer who designed the bridge and oversaw the construction of it until the bridge was opened in 1883. The younger Augustus' patience paid off mostly because he was not intimidated by time, as he would have sat at the window for 20-30 years or more in order to finish his project. This special relationship between self-discipline and time is an important example of how time can be used to achieve a goal, as it can be seen as a tool of accomplishment and a way to motivate those working towards a goal. The most important details of the phrases goal, and self-discipline are that they are relentless in their pursuit of their own dreams and goals, and they draw new inspiration and motivation from their sensory-rich visions of success. An example of this is the story of a mountain climber, who set out to climb a difficult face of dyslexia, a learning disorder, and was able to do so with one hand while holding her wounded arm above her head. This story is a testament to the importance of perseverance and determination in achieving one's goals. Self-disciplined achievers have a strong sense of purpose, seek out positive role models, use sensory-rich visions, have a deep-rooted belief in their ability to achieve, are self-assured, have the ability to plan and organize, know how and when to acquire essential knowledge and skills, have patience, persevere, and view work as pleasure. The most important idea is that self-discipline is essential for success and development, and this program will provide students with the opportunity to learn how to harness it and achieve their goals. Self-discipline is an important part of life, and it is important to stay in touch with the powerful orator that motivates you to work harder and use your talents more effectively. The most important idea is that self-improvement programs, such as crash diets, offer good short-term results but require more than just a few days or weeks of work. Rainer is a popular evangelical form of motivation that is heavily reliant on external rewards such as money prizes and quotas. This approach can create a childlike dependence on outside rewards and does not increase individual commitment. The second classic motivational tool, a comedy album created by Carl Reher and his famous one-to-one relationship with Carl Rainer, is an example of how this type of motivation can be effective in the long term. Rainer's answer to this question is that he would go 2 miles in a minute if he could see an animal growing without a job, showing that true fear is a great motivator. The most important details of the phrases American, Stanford University, and Carl Pribram are that they are all motivational systems that rely on an external stimulus and an artificial situation. They are not sufficient to motivate change. It is easy to identify self-defeating behaviors and plan strategies for eliminating them. The key to developing self-discipline is the fuel of internal motivation. This is a learned behavior with research from major American universities such as California's Stanford University having proven it. It is an acquired characteristic with a basis in behavioral science and has been developed according to materials gathered from 2 major sources. The neuropsychology of self-discipline has been influenced by 2 revolutionary discoveries: the concept of imagination and the idea that the human brain rarely distinguishes between real experiences and imagined experiences. This has been the basis for motivation and change in many sciences, and has not been proven to be true. Imagination is critical to achievement as it evokes the power and emotion that stimulates and sustains the drive to achieve goals, and the human nervous system responds emotionally to imaginary images rich in sensory detail. The phrase, "close your eyes," refers to the author's experience of holding a firm ripe lemon in their hand and slowly biting into it. This experience was characterized by a feeling of bitterness and distaste, as well as the buildup of saliva, which neutralized the acid level in the lemon juice. The author's ability to respond to images is crucial to the survival of the human species, as it stimulates the fight or flight response for survival. However, the person who is dominated and controlled by emotional impressions can become a victim of their own sensory images, which can be dangerous for fear and con artists. To combat this, the author suggests using emotion as fuel only when the imagination is harnessed and focused on the benefits and rewards of a specific goal, and developing self-discipline. Dr. Pribram discovered that all of our actions are driven by an image of achievement, which is made up of images rich in sight, taste and smell. This image serves as a mental blueprint for reaching a goal, motivating the self-disciplined achiever to work long and hard to reach his goal of becoming the #1 tennis player in the world. He used this vision as an emotional well to draw the necessary strength and perseverance to spend thousands of hours in practice and competition. Computers, also known as hardware, are the vehicles for programs called software that tell the brain what to do and how to act the right images, leading to any kind of achievement. The self-disciplined achiever uses imagination to create a vision of achievement and is motivated to bring his vision to life. He uses it to achieve even the most impossible goals and to create new goals. He has learned that it is a powerful method for becoming successful and that the pleasure of succeeding has for him. Self-disciplined achievers use their goal visualization as a reality check, and when they try to get back on course, it doesn't work as their original goal does not fit the new reality. To become an obstetrician, they must set a new course that will lead to success, and then focus on becoming a neurologist. This can be done by switching their visual blueprint to another field of medicine and changing their plans for where they'd like to intern. Similarly, a successful entrepreneur can take a businesswoman to start a direct marketing company, and the trial and error process of working towards their goal has led them in directions they wouldn't originally thought to go in. Ultimately, self-discipline can be condensed into a 7-step formula for developing success. The 7 steps to self-discipline are creating a purpose, finding role models who have already achieved what you want, developing a strong emotional belief in your ability to succeed, translating your feeling of possibility into a sensory-rich vision of success, and planning the first bit of action inspired by your emotions. Stephen DeVore was a young corporate product manager who outlined the principles of goal setting in a workshop based on the neuropsychology of achievement. He believed that once a vision is set, it is possible to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to implement it, as well as to develop self-discipline and draw inspiration and fortitude from the vision. He also argued that persistence and perseverance are key to success, as is the drive to sustain the forward motion to persist and persevere. He believes that vision can fuel reality and that the best way to achieve greatness is to understand what makes us overcome obstacles and be able to program ourselves for success. He proposed a sensory exercise to help individuals determine their true goal and take action to propel them towards the ultimate achievement of their desired goals. Macro-purpose is a concept that refers to the idea of a large or inclusive purpose, which is often referred to as a big idea. This session will provide an opportunity to learn how to identify and map the concept of macro and micro purposes in order to achieve one's goals. It will explore the different types of macro purposes and how to do them in a free society filled with opportunities. Micro purposes are the stepping stones of any macro purpose, and they consist of all the things needed to achieve the most important idea. The session will also teach students how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide numbers into smaller, more important parts of life. Macro and micro purposes are two important concepts that are essential for achieving a variety of goals. Macro purposes involve setting a goal and determining what is necessary to achieve it, while micro purposes involve planning and analyzing thoughts and actions to make the goal clear and easier to achieve. In this example, A student may enter college with no clear idea of what to do except for finishing school, but by the third year of school, they may decide on a career that requires additional schooling and apprenticeship. To reach a goal, one must find a way to put on warm clothes and find shelter, but there is no hope of rescue before the next morning. The most important details of the phrases macro-purpose, micro-purposes, purpose, fire are that there are three main ways to achieve these goals: to light a fire, to keep it going through the night, to gather logs and kindling, and to stay awake during the night. To achieve these purposes, one must have a clear understanding of what to focus on and feed it with a life-threatening purpose and purpose. This is done through self-discipline and achievement, and by the time this session is over, one can get a taste of how easily this can happen. A deserted beach is a place of refuge, and the protagonist is walking barefoot in the sand when they see an object in the near distance. They are curious about it and try to pull it out, but it is not clear. The lamp then releases a cloud of steam or gas that scares them, and they continue to watch it slowly until they see the largest person they have ever seen. The genie offers a reward for helping him with his 5 wishes, he says, and they can be granted anything he tells you as long as it is specific and humanly possible. The protagonist encourages them to think of the things that will turn their life around and make them truly happy. Wonderful imagining is the second step of the 4-part process of a family life. It involves turning one's tape off and deciding what they will wish for one day in and day out every day. The 5 wishes each day are picturing the kind of house they are living in, the clothes they are wearing, the food they are eating, the private plane, the swimming pool, the new career, the same friends, and the same friend. Each wish is written in a detailed list of details from the past, such as the season, location, plates, and glasses on the table. The 5th wish is an emotional response, which is different from the other 3. It is important to pay attention to one's emotional response and make those wishes easier to imagine. The most important details of the phrases purpose, Oxford, wish, emotional response are related to the work of Thomas Arnold, a great and respected scholar from Oxford, England. Arnold was an English scholar and teacher who was educated at Stanford and at Oxford in England. He left Oxford in 1819 and was elected headmaster of Rugby School in 1841. He was known for his powerful personality and inspired his boys with new and serious ideals of scholarship and life. He published sermons, was appointed professor of modern history at Oxford, and was buried in Rugby Chapel. His life and success are an inspiration to many. The phrase, purpose, is used to describe the self-disciplined achiever who worked hard to achieve a single purpose. The entry in the book is about the author's life and their most cherished accomplishments, and how they understand the purpose behind them. The author then uses the tape player to write down their own biography and wishful imagining and creative narrative to answer the question of what the author wants to do. This is the 4th step in determining the purpose of their life. The most important details of the phrases purpose, George Washington, United States, and Amelia Earhart are that George Washington was a great statesman and public servant who had a purpose for him to secure liberty and freedom for all his fellow colonists. He was also a famous woman aviator who wrote her own purpose statement when she was still a child. The purpose statement can be as general as it should be and can speak of heroism, freedom, and social changes. It is important to use limitless wishing and imaginative creative biography to narrow down options and make a final choice about where one is going to focus their efforts. This 4-part process helps to make a major decision about what one wants to accomplish and achieve in their life. The purpose of this session is to learn how role models can inspire and teach students to achieve their lifelong ambition. The story of Odysseus, the hero of the tale, is one of the oldest surviving epic poems in the world. Mentors are wise and practical men who provide students with the kind of inspiration, motivation, and example that can make the difference between achievement and failure. In ancient civilizations, mentors were revered for their role in developing and drafting mankind's first set of civilized laws, the Code of Hammurabi. This king was so wise that one of his laws required all men of learning and craftsmanship to pass on their knowledge and skills to the young. Without modeling learning and achievement, it is not possible for a rare person to forge a new path in society without imitating someone who came before them. Modeling attitudes and behaviors are also passed on from mentors to students, whether they realize it or not. It is time for young people to develop a positive outlook on themselves and their abilities to succeed. To do this, they should find their own personal mentors and use them to their fullest ability. This will help them to overcome negative attitudes and lack of self-discipline, and ultimately be an achiever. The most important details of the phrase's purpose, George Washington, mentors are that they are all important for achieving a purpose. High achievers find inspiration from role models in two ways, through reading and watching films, and through media portrayals. George Washington provides heroes and heroines who have to pull themselves up from despair and struggle to achieve their goals. His movie work has inspired millions of people around the world and provides a formula for reaching audiences. Self-discipline is an important skill to have in order to achieve goals. There are 3 direct methods of finding a self-disciplined mentor: through personal achievements, biographies, autobiographies, and family members. To find a mentor, one should search out books, magazine articles and movies, and then turn to real-life mentors. Networking is also a great way to learn from and emulate role models, as it can be used to establish relationships and expose oneself to positive role models. The main benefit of networking is the quality of the contacts one can establish that will create greater success. When choosing a mentor, it is important to consider the 10 positive characteristics of the achiever and the strengths and weaknesses of the prospective mentors. Mentors can be used to help the achievers achieve their dreams and goals. It is also important to pay attention to the mentor's way of thinking and choose someone who handles stress and pressure, comes up with creative solutions, and still finds time for important personal relationships. The most important details of the phrases "high achievers work hard but are not workaholics" are that they still find time to enjoy their friends and families, and look for a mentor who has learned not to waste time and who has mastered the art of juggling a heavy schedule while staying calm. This is an important trait to learn from and to make one's own decisions based on the opinions of those around them. The video cassettes developed by the world's greatest athletes feature some of them who have won world championships and Olympic gold competitions, and have had a mentor whose skills, attitudes and behavior serve as an example of how to achieve their goals. Most top athletes were just as intimidated as the athletes, but it was evident that the barrier can be overcome quickly and easily. Each of them described the eventual realization that came from playing on a team with a personal hero or from riding the same pro circuit. The most important details of the phrases Jean-Claude Keely and Ray Bradbury are that they are all related to the success of role models, such as an Olympic gold medal skier, a politician, a publisher, and a world traveler. Both of these role models have developed tremendous strengths, but also have weaknesses. Ray Bradbury is a renowned fiction writer who was not able to win the Monaco Grand Prix or even a race due to his lack of experience in driving a car. The similarity between the two is that the same kind of self-discipline effort can be applied to achieving a goal, and if applied correctly, one can be just as successful in achieving their goals. Thompson was a successful 19th-century psychologist and popular contemporary writer who believed that in order to acquire a positive habit or behavior, one must act as if they already have it. He imitated 2 of the most famous writers in the English language and copied them by hand. Thompson went on to become a global success and even became a fictional character named Bunker Bean, who was raised by his parents to think he would always be a failure. He failed in school and was shocked out of his usual apathy by the revelation he was the reincarnation of Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte was a legendary character who was so obsessed with the emperor that he almost forgot his true self. Years later, a fortune teller was hired and changed his life by telling him about his former self. This led to the realization that everyone is born with the potential to be a great achiever and that a mentor study is needed to help them achieve their goals. In the 1920s, an African actor named Byron Venado wrote a book called The Wind Walker, which was made into a powerful film by an aged blind Indian to teach the ways of warriors. The story ends with the narrator reflecting on the day's lesson and the children's reactions to it, and the author reciting a poem to the heavens. It is important to choose role models who can be important for achieving a meaningful purpose and create a strong sense of possibility. In this session, the speaker learned how to determine a purpose, identify models of achievement, people who have already attained goals, turn them into personal mentors, and use their mentors to isolate and identify their talents and habits. This will help them to become more real and motivated to work persistently and progress towards their vision and purpose. The speaker is ready to take on another giant in terms of achieving their goals. The most important idea is that a 4-step process for transforming a purpose into a sensory goal statement is essential for achieving a vision of success. The most important details of the phrases vision, statement, goal, and Scientific American are that a sensory goal statement must be specific and measurable. For example, a statement of purpose might read like, to help cure disease, in 1989, to become your own boss, in 1987, and to run a marathon, in 1986. The next step in the sensory goal-setting process is turning a statement into a vision of achievement, which can be achieved through photographs of a medical school graduation ceremony or by researching. The most important idea is to use photos of successful businesses, magazines, and retail trade publications to inspire one's own vision and motivate them to achieve their goals. The goal is to achieve one's goals. To do this, one must focus on the small details outside their home, such as the texture of wallpaper, the color of the sky, and the faces of those they are with. Additionally, one should focus on sounds such as people talking to them, hearing the voices of their parents, spouses, children, and friends, and reading the story of their achievement. The aroma of champagne and the smell of perfume and cologne can also be seen. Finally, one can feel emotionally pride satisfaction, feeling relief that the hard work is behind them, and feeling the power of their new position. The 4-step process of achieving a goal involves creating a specific statement of what you want to achieve, gathering inspirational photographs of others who have achieved it, and then bringing the 3 steps together into an imaginary scenario. The vision is the driving force behind all of your thinking and activity, and it will enable you to develop working plans, working habits, knowledge and skills needed to achieve your goal. After recording the description, you should listen to it and create another version over and over until you have a complete vision. The 5-step daily plan for internalizing one's vision and making it a part of each goals is to review their statement of purpose, photographs of achievement, and list of rewards for achieving their goal. During the 2nd step, one must listen to their recording of their sensory goal and remember it as often as possible. The 3rd step involves mentally reviewing all events that occurred during the day to fuel the vision and make it richer and clearer. The 4th step involves listening to the sensory goal description before going to bed and as one falls asleep. The 5th step involves playing a sensory-rich scenario of achievement over and over again in the mind. This 5-step plan will help to refuel and reinforce motivation for achievement, but there will be setbacks and mistakes along the way. To achieve a goal, it is important to record a vision over again every 2 weeks, and to record it takes time and do it as many times as necessary until you are satisfied with the results. Recording a vision that satisfies you in its richness of detail and intensity of emotion, and if the goal changes, record a new version if you have reached your goal and want to satisfy another. The vision should include all the details and be as enthusiastic as possible. The most important details of the phrases vision, goal, step, and German are that they are all interconnected. The great German philosopher and dramatist Johann Wolfgang von Goethe wrote the famous quote, "When a man does not know what harbor he is heading for no wind, the right one planning helps you focus your direction and organize both your time and resources." This plan is applicable to any type of task or project and can help you to make short or long-range plans, organize your resources, meet necessary deadlines, and improve your decision-making skills. After following this plan, you will experience an increase in self-confidence and pride as you realize that you are on your way to becoming a self-disciplined achiever. First, planning is a way to look at both the whole picture and parts that make up the whole, and then organize those parts. As you take each step, your faith in your ability to accomplish your goal will be reinforced and expanded in approaching the creation of a plan. The steps taken to achieve macro achievements are micro achievements such as leveling the site and digging a foundation, putting up the foundation, and finishing the walls. A short story about a Micronesian island leader named Plug is used to illustrate the kind of time and patience it takes to achieve excellence. He began learning navigation at the age of 5 and was able to point the bow of his canoe at the rising star, but it took him 45 years to learn every movement of every major and minor star and constellation in the nighttime sky. By learning these steps, Plug is able to realize his ambition and the respect he receives from his community. When creating a plan of action, it is important to remember that ideas take concentrated work to come to fruition, rather than just spinning out ideas. Additionally, focus on details rather than policy matters, and involve looking at the whole picture before committing to the task. Finally, planning and implementation of a plan is a trial and error process, and mistakes can be unavoidable and will serve as springboards of learning and refinement. The most important details of the phrases vision, goal, step, and German are that they are all interconnected. The great German philosopher and dramatist Johann Wolfgang von Goethe wrote the famous quote, "When a man does not know what harbor he is heading for no wind, the right one." Planning helps you focus your direction and organize both your time and resources. This plan is applicable to any type of task or project and can help you to make short or long-range plans, organize your resources, meet necessary deadlines, and improve your decision-making skills. After following this plan, you will experience an increase in self-confidence and pride as you realize that you are on your way to becoming a self-disciplined achiever. First, planning is a way to look at both the whole picture and parts that make up the whole, and then organize those parts. As you take each step, your faith in your ability to accomplish your goal will be reinforced and expanded in approaching the creation of a plan. The steps taken to achieve macro achievements are micro achievements such as leveling the site and digging a foundation, putting up the foundation, and finishing the walls. A short story about a Micronesian island leader named Plug is used to illustrate the kind of time and patience it takes to achieve excellence. He began learning navigation at the age of 5 and was able to point the bow of his canoe at the rising star, but it took him 45 years to learn every movement of every major and minor star and constellation in the nighttime sky. By learning these steps, Plug is able to realize his ambition and the respect he receives from his community. When creating a plan of action, it is important to remember that ideas take concentrated work to come to fruition, rather than just spinning out ideas. Additionally, focus on details rather than policy matters, and involve looking at the whole picture before committing to the task. Finally, planning and implementation of a plan is a trial and error process, and mistakes can be unavoidable and will serve as springboards of learning and refinement. The most important details of the phrases moon, steps, and how they are related to the project of put a man on the moon in the early 1960s. After spending millions of dollars on market research and marketing, the company has brought back their old formula and still has their new formula on the market. This mistake was seen as a stepping step towards gaining a larger share of the market than it had before. In order to achieve this goal, the team of engineers and systems designers took their macro objective and set it down into a series of micro objectives. This process of self-correcting behavior is referred to as cybernetics and is used to identify and visualize each step necessary to complete an objective network. The most important details of visual network planning are the 7 steps involved to achieve a goal, which include writing an objective, breaking it down into major steps, organizing activities in logical order, designing a visual network, estimating how long each activity will take, and assigning actual calendar dates to each activity. The first element is an activity box, which consists of two elements, an activity and a reference number. The third element is the activity's reference number, which is assigned a number for identification. The fourth element is duration, which takes a certain amount of time to complete and is listed at the bottom right-hand corner of the activity box. This diagram assumes that a hard winter wheat and a wheat grinder can be used to make some fresh hot. The most important details of the phrase's goal, activity, steps, and activity number are that a visual network plan can be used to illustrate the steps taken to achieve a goal. This plan shows how many activities must be completed before the goal can be accomplished, and how long each activity will take to achieve the goal. In this case, the goal is to get both a car and a motorcycle out of a garage. The most important details of the phrase's goal, steps, visual network, activities are that 5 of the 7 steps of visual network planning have been completed, 2 of them have been written, and 5 have been assigned a logical order for completion. The visual network plan for cooking cereal has been expanded to one for cooking and eating cereal, with the goal of preparing and eating freshly ground whole wheat cereal in 15 minutes. The activities on the critical path are called critical activities and are vital to the success of the project, as they must be completed on time and without affecting the outcome. This is done by looking at the 3 separate paths of activities, 3, 5, and 11, and the amount of time each will take to complete the top path and the bottom path. The visual network plan used at Cybervision Systems to develop programs involves studying the path to determine the critical path of a project and assigning calendar dates to each activity box. This plan should include activities that take the longest amount of time to complete, such as activities 11 to 15, 17 to 19, 21 to 23, and 20 to 21, which take 10 weeks to complete. If any of these activities are delayed, the whole project will be late. Additionally, critical path dates should be added to the schedule to ensure that the project is completed on time and when it's best or easiest to work on them. Finally, these activities can be worked into the schedule so that they can be delayed until then. Visual network planning is a great way to plan for a macro goal, such as becoming a doctor or getting through medical school. It takes a total of 15 years of post-high school study to create a micro-network plan of its own. Before embarking on a plan, it is recommended to try this organizational method out on something smaller. This plan will give you a chance to get used to organizing your activities in a logical and systematic way, learn the meaning of hard work and patience, and be proud that you have done it. It will also be able to look at your chart at various times during your project and see how far you have come before you go on to complete this planning session. The most important details of the phrase's goal, activities, plan, time, and take are that visual network planning is a living working system that must change to accommodate changes in life, and that it is important to be able to plan and create a visual network plan to achieve your goals. The objective of this plan is not to measure success or failure, but to provide a logical system for achieving your goal. Visual network planning should be a roadmap that points out your destination and suggests a way to get there, but it doesn't tell how to take the trip. The instructions on how to develop an adventure plan are guidelines and not a rigid set of rules, and it is recommended to use the principles outlined in the text to meet your goals and take the time to work with them. The most important details of the phrase's goal, activities, plan, time, and take are that it is important to plan and use one's creativity to achieve a goal. This plan should include a list of activities and a time frame to tell a story of the achievement of one's own goal. The story should be told in the past tense, paying attention to details about the time it took to reach the goal, the process of achieving it, and the author's own experience with success. The author should also be enthusiastic and give their friend a step-by-step description of how they did it first. When the story is played back, the author should listen carefully to their descriptions and have a lack of conviction in their voice. The most important details to remember when it comes to achieving a goal are how to plan and apply the concept of seasoning, a special way of looking at time in order to achieve a goal. This includes learning how to prepare for achievement, tackle hard work, manage time and effort efficiently, and find time in an already busy schedule. By completing the exercises in the study guide, we can permanently overcome the world's #1 cause of failure and progress. Time is an important factor in achieving a goal, and it takes time to accomplish something that may take a little bit of time or a great deal of time. To do a good job, one should measure the door and doorway opening, mount it on a sawhorse, and plane it down until it reaches the right size. This approach may take longer than some others, but it is the best way to achieve a goal, and when done properly, the person who takes the time to do the job right is the epitome of a self-disciplined achiever. Time is a law of nature, and taking time to come to fruition can lead to mediocrity and failure. The most important details of the phrases goal, time, take, and Steve DeVore are that when asked by an impatient student how long it would take to become a master teacher, the student replied that nothing comes into being all at once. The speaker then recalls learning about seasoning the hard way, how the author had a friend who understood the principles of gardening and let his plants grow and ripen in their own time. This experience taught the author a lesson about patience and self-discipline, and how success cannot be hurried, and that ambition and hard work are not intimidated by the thought of having to work and study for 5, 10 to 15 years. The protagonist's commitment to a goal is absolute, and their vision of success is unwavering, and they know that it will take 5 years to achieve it, but they still have a choice to spend them preparing for success. The most important details of the phrases goal, time, take, and French are that the last 5 years of life have gone by. What did you do to achieve your goal? For example, if you are 34 years old and want to become an architect, it will take 6 years of schooling and apprenticeship before you can get a good job with a respected architectural firm. If you choose to study architecture for 6 years, you will be in the same position, and you will have to work until you are 46 to achieve this goal. French philosopher Blaise Pascal suggests that people are too slow and coming to be accomplished at anything. They waste their lives by doing nothing. The story of Pablo Picasso is about a great artist who goes out and buys a guitar and takes his first few lessons. It takes years of hard work and effort to learn how to play, and the youngster loses interest in it. He then meets a woman in a restaurant who asks him to take a picture of a napkin for her, and they both agree that it would take 40 years to draw, but it is an interminable amount of time for a master artist, scientist, or businessman. Pablo Picasso's goal is to achieve a specific goal, and he concentrates on the micro tasks that make up his macro purpose, rather than ignoring the macro purpose. The story ends with him achieving his goal. Time quickening is an important part of achieving a goal, as it is essential for self-discipline and growth in order to achieve a lifelong purpose. It is a magical experience where time seems to disappear, and you are in complete control of what you are doing and feeling energetic and completely absorbed in your task. Time quickening does not mean taking shortcuts, but rather it represents what happens to your perception of time as you become involved in the pursuit of your goal. It can also occur when you find yourself completely engrossed in something and are unaware of the past and future, leaving only you and the task you are engaged in. Time quickening is the feeling of being single-mindedly and uninterruptedly involved in an activity for a significant period of time. It occurs when one engages with something outside of themselves and takes 6 steps to experience. These steps include creating or finding a working environment free of distractions, focusing on one task at a time, surrendering to the task, working hard, and being patient. With practice, time can be flown quickly and easily, and it is the antidote to burnout. Time quickening is an important part of achieving a goal over a long period of time. It is a way to maintain a healthy emotional balance and to increase the chances of success. However, it can also lead to procrastination, which is a serious deterrent to self-discipline. Research has shown that chronic procrastinators are divided into 3 groups: those who fear failure, those who fear success, and those who use procrastina as a way of rebelling against authority. The first type of procrastinator may already be a successful business person or professional, but they are only successful when they set high standards for themselves and are not able to meet those standards. Sarah St. Washington Stanford University is an example of a college program that helps students achieve their goals. The most important details of the phrases time, Sarah, are that after graduation, Sarah joined the planning director's office in a major West Coast city and has started putting off doing the reports until the last minute. This has led to her developing a new skill called brinkmanship, which allows her to pull herself out of the brink of a crisis if her performance does not measure up. Additionally, the second group of procrastinators are afraid of the things that may happen, and some are afraid to stand out from the crowd. These people are constantly rebelling against authority and reacting to a fear of being controlled or dominated. Time management is an important skill to have in order to overcome procrastination. Two special time management techniques, Swiss cheesing and unscheduling cheesing, are two examples of how to overcome this tendency. Waste chaining is a term used to divide a macro purpose into micro tasks, such as 8 15-minute segments or 4 30-minute segments, or smaller segments. To help overcome this, it is important to act as if one is what they are, what they want to be. The most important details of the phrases goal, time, was, and work are that breaking a macro purpose down into micro tasks is the only way to achieve a major goal, and that it is important to concentrate on achieving one small step at a time. This helps to overcome procrastination and get on with your project in the most efficient way. The chart with the days of the week listed along the top row and the hours in a day listed vertically along the left side shows that many hours are taken up with the necessities of everyday life. The first task in this exercise is to fill in all those hours that are occupied with travel, meals, work meetings, regular recreational activities, and other commitments. Only fill in the time that is dedicated to activity. This can be done by watching television or reading magazines for 3 hours every night. That doesn't qualify as a life necessity unless it is part of your job. By doing so, you can save 20 or 30 hours per week of free time to devote to your project, and if you include time that is spent commuting on a bus or train. The most important details of the phrases goal, time, William James, was, and work are that once you have established when and where your free time occurs, you can begin allocating that time to your micro projects when the hour arrives. This will help you to work uninterruptedly and not get sidetracked, and you should learn to say no when people try to take you away from your work. Additionally, you should be aware of the increasing amount of time spent on your project and not overcommit to it, as this can cause anxiety and lead to procrastination. Finally, it is important to remember that the goal should not be to punish yourself with work in every free hour. Working towards a macro goal requires a healthy balance between work and recreation. To achieve this goal, one should focus on self-disciplined achievers and master the skills and knowledge they need to make the vision and purpose a reality. This can be done by starting marathon conditioning with a careful program of nutrition and exercises, as well as talking to other runners and a doctor's checkup. Time should also be taken into account when working towards the goal, as it can serve as a reminder that time is not always necessary. The goal of this session is to help individuals learn the knowledge and skills needed to achieve their goals. It is important to recognize that their potential is as unlimited as their imagination and that they can learn from the program they are teaching. A psychological study was conducted to identify any potential students who were gifted or slow, and that the teachers' attitudes towards them were based on their own ability to learn. It was found that the world's most persistent and successful people had developed a 4-step approach to learning that ensured they would successfully acquire the knowledge they need to succeed. The most important details of the phrases goal, time, learn, skills, learning are that acquiring knowledge and skills is a slow step-by-step process that requires systematic trial and effort, and that each student must develop their own personalized system for learning a simple learning formula to efficiently and fairly master goal-relevant knowledge and skill. To become a neurologist, one must excel in college pre-medicine, which requires a 4-year visual network plan that outlines what they had to learn and in what order they would have to learn it year by year. By viewing the completed network plan, one can develop an inner belief that they have it in themselves to master each of the subject matter areas and use it to successfully complete college. This example is applicable to any situation in which new or existing medical doctors may not want to become medical doctors. The visual network plan for completing pre-medicine is a step-by-step map for completing the program. It outlines the chronological steps to becoming a neurologist and the micro-plan with the objective of becoming a neurologist. The micro-plan is broken down into 2 levels, with the first level represented in 2 steps and the second level representing the start labeled number 11. The key to success is an attitude of belief in oneself as someone who is capable of learning, which is 90% of the learning hurdle. The belief in yourself as someone who has the ability to learn is an important step in the self-disciplined pursuit of goal-related knowledge and skills. This belief is often caused by a vicious cycle of learning blocks when it comes to math, where people feel they don't have the aptitude to learn complex mathematical concepts. However, this can be proven by the fact that most people are intelligent and can get by in most other courses, but they become lazy in math and are often labeled as poor in math. This can be seen in the decision of which courses to pursue in school and careers, such as those that require mathematical understanding. Most of the people who studied in the creation of the Neuropsychology of Self-Discipline program had a firm belief in their ability to learn anything and everything for 90%. The most important details of the phrases learn, learning, finish, Finland, and Einstein are related to the work of Albert Einstein, who was a mathematical genius who failed to test out at genius level on intelligence tests. He was a poor student in mathematics and lacked the basic skills of reporting and editorial writing, as well as the ability to use mathematics to express his experience and knowledge. This is exemplified by the invention of the laser Dr. Theodore Moore, who flunked his college exams and had to take them over again. This led to the success of his high school baseball team, which won 7 American League batting titles and is one of 13 players ever to get more than 3,000 career hits. The story of Ernest Rutherford is also mentioned, as he mastered the Finnish language, which is the most difficult language for Western tongues to learn, and he lays no claim to a superior intellect. The most important details of the phrase learn, learning, finish, Finland are that Devore entered an intensive language program for 2 months before he left for Finland, where he was unable to communicate and was only able to communicate with a dog after 2 months. He then learned Finnish and became fluent in the language he learned to speak in, which helped him to serve as a translator for American businessmen and their families traveling to Finland. After 2 years, he returned home after 2 years and went back to college, but was discouraged from going back to his studies. This story serves as a reminder of the importance of learning success and attitude, as it boosts confidence in one's ability to learn other skills and can help break the cycle of negative ideas. Small steps and small accomplishments are important for achieving a macro goal, as they are key to achieving a neurologist's goals. The most important details of the phrases learn, learning, Howard R. Brown are that success in learning begets more success, and that we have been conditioned into a negative feedback loop where learning is concerned with the step-by-step accumulation of new skills. This creates a psychology of self-discipline program which is based on everyday learning skills like medicine, chemistry, dance, music, writing languages, architecture, and carpentry. The lack of these skills requires seasoning the accumulation of knowledge over time and the perseverance to stick with it over a long period of time. The author also speaks of the seasoning of a learner and how it is possible for them to acquire knowledge complete and staggering by instant illumination. Another myth about the acquisition of knowledge is that it can get too old to learn. This bit of fallacious thinking, which is often challenged by the aphorism that it is not worth teaching old dogs new tricks. The classic incident from the life of the great poet Longfellow illustrates the relationship between age and learning. Old by Howard Ram Adams is an example of Howard Brown. The most important details from the text are the lessons of lifelong learning, the importance of having self-discipline to see one's efforts through, and the 4th step of the learning process, the implementation of tried and proven principles to make learning easy. The story of a working-class English woman who has a dream of becoming educated is explored in the film, which highlights the difficulties she faces in her personal odyssey and the desire to teach with her mentors and husband. Through her story, the student is able to overcome her obstacles and pursue her dreams. The session will discuss the connection between learning and the successful achievement of goals. It is important to recognize that the same lack of relationship to vision is often true with our attempts to understand abstract principles. The author will recall signing up for a course in statistics when she was attending college, but the instructor issued a warning at the beginning of the course. She will find a way to overcome her lack of preparation in order to pursue her vision. The most important details of the phrases learn, learning, principle, and vision are that the student has been learning the importance of vision and is continuing to create a vision on a daily basis. This four-part learning system is the application of certain principles that reveal themselves in the course of their research with self-disciplined achievers. The 4 steps of the system recognize the need to learn a number of principles, relate the principle to one's personal vision, internalize it to their own experience, and apply it in action. The student is able to learn new information and skills through this system. Schools are essential for learning and understanding the key skills and competences needed to reach a goal. To do this, one must ask themselves how they can use this knowledge to achieve their goals. This process is similar to putting a jigsaw puzzle together, where one piece of the puzzle fits the contours of the piece and provides an idea of what the larger picture will look like. The third step in the learning process is internalizing the principle by relating it to one's own experience. This can help one to understand the law that states for every action there is an effect. The most important details of the 4 stages of learning are the 4 steps of creativity, which are defined as taking the knowledge and skills learned and applying it to the realization of one's purpose, vision, and goals. The first stage is preparation, where problem solvers take all the information they can gather to solve a problem or get a job done. The 4th step is the application of the principle of the macro learning system, which involves using the new vocabulary to learn a new language. This will help to make the experience easier and more fun. Ultimately, the success of the mega learning system will lead to greater understanding and better education. The vision of a problem is the byproduct of a disciplined, well-informed mind that is using its storehouse of knowledge to solve problems. During the incubation stage, the research has been done and the necessary information has been collected. The knowledge begins to reform itself below the level of consciousness and become a whole. The illumination stage is the moment of discovery and is marked by an overwhelming feeling of certainty that says yes is the piece of art. The verification or revision stage involves the details of an experimental process and involves visible work and rational thinking, as well as drawing from knowledge and fundamental skills to make the work conform to the vision of the creative insight. The process of creativity should also help to wrest the misconception that self-disciplined people are not creative. Don Bennett is a mountain climber who successfully scaled 14,000 feet and was interviewed about his experience by a local reporter. He was motivated to create a vision of himself at the top of the mountain that was so real that he could feel the cold wind blowing in his face and the mountains and valleys all around him. He drew upon his vision for inspiration and made it a reality. Bennett's story illustrates the value of persistence and perseverance in any of life's endeavors. McCall was a seaman on a Navy ship in the Philippines when the ship was struck by Japanese torpedoes. He instinctively grabbed his life jacket and made his way up to the deck, but the ship sank, taking 300 men with it. He knew he would stand a better chance of survival if he stayed away from the other men and protected himself from exposure in the blistering Sunday. He also kept a hose on his person so he could retreat underwater in case of a Japanese attack. He watched men succumbing to mass panic and intoxication while he escaped attack and died of dehydration. He remained alive 4 days later, when a Navy patrol boat plucked an exhausted 90-pound. He had survived 4 days without food or drink in the blinding sun in shark-infested waters. The most important details of the phrases Don Bennett, McCall, setbacks are that Don Bennett and Bennett both used self-discipline to endure physical hardship and achieve seemingly impossible goals. Bennett used 5 simple principles to turn problems and setbacks into positive learning experiences, while Newton used his one leg to hop at least 30,000 times to get up to the top of Mount Rainier. Both men had to stay calm and follow a life-saving plan while spending 4 days in shark-infested waters. The ultimate key to their success is what they are taught to develop: both persistence and perseverance. The 5 steps of a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step and is important to remember the rewards and benefits that await you when you successfully realize your goal. The first step is to firmly anchor the following attitude and make sure that you are able to achieve your goals no matter how long it takes. The second step involves rebelling against setbacks and looking for creative solutions. The fourth step involves developing persistence and perseverance, as well as experimenting with taking different paths to your destination. The fifth step involves turning your work into fun and making what you have to do into something you want to do for a lifelong goal. If you follow these 5 steps faithfully, your long road to success will turn into an exciting journey of knowledge discovery, challenge and reward. The 5 ways to overcome setbacks are to turn setbacks into learning experiences, not to feel like a failure. To do this, one should never ignore problems, deal with them directly, not blame others, learn to tackle them, and strive to strengthen their self-discipline. With these tips, one can overcome setbacks and make their own luck. Carol Napier was a young woman who was faced with and managed to overcome setbacks that might make her want to give up. She had a degree in marketing and a good job as a marketing assistant with an eye to move up in the company. Despite having diabetes diagnosed when she was 12, she was able to keep her under control with insulin shots and had a normal, relatively healthy life. However, when she began having trouble with her eyes, she needed a kidney transplant, which was done successfully when she turned 27. This story is an example of how it is possible to be a self-disciplined achiever who never quits. It is important to remember that no matter how difficult the problem is, there is always a solution if one takes the attitude that every problem has a solution and approaches it with an open and creative mind. Carol is an example of a person who has faced setbacks and been able to overcome them by engaging in physical therapy and making a trip across the country alone. She is currently attending college studying for a master's degree in rehabilitative education and has decided to spend the rest of her life helping people face and overcome problems. The key to reaching any goal is to develop the strength of character that makes it impossible to give up, regardless of how difficult the situation is for her to stay. This session will review everything she has learned in the Neuropsychology of Self-Discipline program and provide tips for developing this habit. It is a good time to reflect on what has been learned and how far one has come, as well as to start thinking about how one is going to maintain and develop their own discipline. With this mindset, one can learn from the lessons learned from the past and become an achiever. Self-discipline is key to achieving a goal, but there are many problems that can lead to failure if not being successful. To reach one's goals, it is important to focus on the 10 characteristics of the self-disciplined achiever and compare their own strengths and weaknesses. This can be achieved through hard work, patience, and financial sacrifices. Self-disciplined achievers have a strong sense of purpose, seek out mentors to teach them how to best approach their goal, and use sensory images to provoke the kind of emotion that keeps them working towards their goal. They have a deep-rooted belief in their ability to achieve their goals, have the ability to plan and organize, know how and when to acquire the essential knowledge and skills they need, have patience, understand the concept of seasoning, and have a mature attitude towards pleasure. These 10 characteristics are important for success in achieving their goals. Dr. Paul Pribram's research into images of achievement and the role of them in motivating people to pursue their goals was the basis for the program. Participants discussed the power of purpose, how to turn major goals into step-by-step plans, and how to choose a role model that is both a blueprint and an inspiration for their own activity. They also learned how to translate their purpose into sensory images that would fuel their inner fire of determination and ambition. The key to success was developing the kind of constant internal motivation that keeps them on course through problems and setbacks. Self-disciplined achievers are someone who take on a variety of tasks to achieve their goals. Through this session, they learned about the importance of self-discipline, attitude towards time, the problem of procrastination, and how to plan and acquire knowledge. They also learned about mega-learning, a powerful four-step system that enables them to master any task, and the power of persistence and perseverance. These skills are essential for successful completion of goals. The most important details from this text are related to the story of Richard Gebhardt, who was able to achieve his goals despite extreme hardship and physical danger. This story highlights the importance of self-discipline and the need to be vigilant about how one is approaching their goals and what their purpose in life is. It also offers free audiobooks with key insights, summaries, and study notes on the concepts of the books, and encourages readers to subscribe and become part of the family.